She has been a special speaker for HERS Training Academy at Starbase Indy. That is how I know this lovely lady. She's going to be talking about practical protests, and I'm so excited for this information, and to just kind of, you know, get this information, get this energy out there, because there's even some really cool stuff that are happening in the real world today right outside of her door. So I'm going to turn it over to Beth. I am so excited you are here, darling. You are awesome.
Thank you. That was so sweet. Yes, there is a lot of stuff going on in the real world today, and it can be really seriously overwhelming. So on the upside, we actually have a Black Lives Matter mural going down the street just right outside of the museum. I'm here at the Kurt Vonnegut Museum and Library. It's where my job is now, and not everybody can pick up a real job in the middle of a pandemic, but you know, apparently that's what I do. So absolutely love it here. We're sitting actually on the freedom of expression, freedom of speech floor. We have 3 floors here at the museum, and this one's my favorite because I am all about combating censorship in all its forms. We have 2 of my colleagues are going to be taking off here, so if you hear any background noise, it's because we're multitasking here today. 2 of my colleagues are actually going to be leaving shortly to go help paint the mural. And in addition to that, on the 2nd floor, one of my other colleagues, Chris, who's the curator here at the museum, is actually on a Zoom meeting as well. He is in a virtual book club talking to the National World War II Museum about Slaughterhouse-5 and how Kurt Vonnegut was actually an activist and would stand up for freedom of speech, as well as do all sorts of speeches at peace protests and things like that. A lot of other things that we do down here, we mail books out because we find out that different schools and libraries have said that kids can't have access to certain books. If we can get our hands on them, we mail them out to people. And that's like a huge, big thing. But in addition, in the real world, we've got our fearless leader, Trump, trying to delay the elections, which I have a real issue with. We've got hurricanes, we've got earthquakes, we've got hunger. It can be extremely overwhelming. There is so many things going on that's wrong with the world, and what I want to talk to you guys about today is how can we fix it? So I'm going to share my screen because I put together a PowerPoint. I'm pretty proud of that. There it is. It's always good if I can actually find the right screen. Technology, it's great when it works. So we are going to start from the beginning. You can tell I was like in the middle of trying to do things here. We're going to talk about practical protesting. Tips, tricks, do's, and don'ts. And we're going to start with some questions because I was always that child. I asked way too many questions. I still do. How do you choose your battles? Let's start with what you can't do. Why can't you get involved? Would you be in physical danger? That is a very real and honest concern. If you have physical abilities that are not conducive to standing for great lengths of time in a protest, if you are in a wheelchair and you do not have accessibility to the protest, that's going to be a real deterrent. If you have physical issues where you can't be out in the sunshine for any real length of time, if you have breathing issues and can't be in an outdoor setting for any real length of time, if you even physical issues to the point of if the protest is an indoor sit-in, if you get claustrophobic in crowds like I do, can't do it. I simply can't. Other things, are you needed elsewhere? Maybe you're not needed on the front line so much. Maybe there's another space that you would be better suited for. Maybe there's something else that you can do that nobody else on the planet can do. That's your superpower. Do you have physical limitations? Do you have emotional limitations? If you have issues with PTSD, if you have got, everyone has triggers, everyone has a background, everyone who has lived and survived and has stories to tell. You've experienced things, and those experiences definitely change how you view the world, and how you respond to that. Are you prevented to go out and stand in a protest line by family? Is there a reason? Do you have small children at home? Do you have an elderly parent that you need to be taking care of? If you are thrown in jail or you are hurt, who's going to take care of those people? Work. Is it a direct conflict of your work ethics? Is it something that you have a job that you love, you're following your passion, but if you go stand on that picket line, is it going to be a real issue? Are you going to lose your job? Religious reasons. If you are a pacifist at heart, you are not going to go out into a violent situation. It is something that simply is not done. There are other ways you can approach it. You don't have to actually physically go and be on the line. Who's being hurt? That's another good question. Is it a group of individuals who needs your voice? Or do they have voices? Is this a group that wants your help? That is a very real and serious concern. There are so many different conflicts in the world. When I wrote that question, it was directly related to the fact that I have, as part of the rainbow community, I have so many trans friends, and a lot of them have very distinct viewpoints that if you're not trans, that's not your place to be standing. Despite the fact that I fully support them, and I fully support, the gays, the lesbians. I myself am bisexual. It doesn't matter. It's one of those things that if you are not wanted, you're going to be more of a hindrance than a help. Is the situation an isolated incident that needs to be rectified, or is it something that's a symptom of a bigger problem? You need to look at the big picture. You need to decide if this is something that's like, I can't believe they won't put a stop sign up on the corner of walk and don't walk. And, it's like, well, we really need to have traffic laws enforced on a bigger level. Maybe that's what we need to be looking at instead of just a stop sign. Are you wanting to do this for revenge? Is this something, directly related to something that was done to you? Are you, just wanting to get even with the world or a specific individual that's involved in the cause? Are there already laws that are in effect to protect the people that are being hurt? Maybe instead of trying to change the laws, maybe it's just a matter of finding a way to enforce the laws. What can one person do? I like to think of being the rock or pebble that's tossed into a very calm lake, and that one splash causes so many ripples that you really don't realize until much later how much one person affects things. Back to, even if you can't physically go out there, if you don't feel like you are necessarily wanted on the front lines for whatever reason, it's like you can still help. Are you super organized? Do you have art skills? Are you good with kids and critters? People that are out on the protest in a protest situation need somebody to take care of their animals. They need dogs walked if they're going to be out there for any real length of time, depending on what the situation is. Babysitting is huge, really huge. Can you bake? I put that one on there because I have some amazing friends who, during the series of Black Lives Matter protests here in Indianapolis, they decided they were going to organize what they called Sweet Justice. And they took out baked goods, homemade baked goods, and they took out bottles of water, and they stood out at a table off to the side because they felt that they physically could not be there the whole day, but they stood off to the side and they handed out refreshments to the people protesting. There's always something you can do. Where do you start? First, you got to find out who's organizing things. And if there's nobody organizing things, you have to decide, are you going to be the organizer? That's where I tend to wind up getting caught on occasion. But organizing is one of my superpowers. Connecting people with other people is another one of my superpowers. And so I tend to wind up being one of the behind the scenes organizer people. Is there a venue? If there already is something organized, is there a venue near you? Here in Indianapolis, we got the state capitol building. We're good. We got somewhere we can always plan a protest at. We've got the circle. We've got so many different places that things can happen. The Black Lives Matter mural that's being painted is being painted on Indiana Avenue, and it's going to start right at the corner where the Madam Walker Theater is. Makes perfect sense to me. What sort of behind the scenes projects are happening near you? What other things could be tied in with or could collaborate with the major issue that needs to be handled? Do you have a house big enough to host events? Do you have a yard? You know, it's something, if you just say, hey, you guys can meet here for the organizing, that's a big, huge thing. Finding somewhere that people feel safe to come and sit and talk and get things organized is a big deal. Can you be part of the planning committee? I, for one, can't seem to sit and keep my mouth shut for long. And so I wind up volunteering, and that's basically how Leah and I met. It's like, oh, we need someone to help do kids activities at Starbase Indy. And it's like, yeah, oh yeah, I can do that. So it's one of those things where you kind of have to just kind of sense out this, you know, figure out the situations, figure out where you fit in and what you can do. Another big question is, when is it? When is the big day? Is there a major conflict with something else going on in your world? This goes back to family, this goes back to work, this goes back to religious things. If it's, you know, if you're Jewish and there's a religious holiday, it could be a real conflict. If you can't be part of the big day, you could be part of something else that leads up to it. When are the planning meetings? What time is it? Can you help with setup? Can you help with cleanup? Those are major things for events. Major, huge. Even if you can't be part of the everything going on, if you can help with setup, or you can help with cleanup, or you can help haul things to the location, that is really a big deal. So this comes down to, how do you change the world? The pen is mightier than the sword. Every time, guarantee it. I found this little meme and I'm like, oh no, I'm stealing it. You can write letters to congresspeople. You can send emails to local officials. You can write letters to the editor. You can create posters. Words are very powerful. You can, just by reaching out and passing information on. Social media is a big, huge thing. If you can copy paste, if you can help share an event, if you can help promote an event, if you can help connect people that might be able to help, that's a really big deal. Those who can do and those who can't teach. I have always hated this, hated it. Because the reality is, those who teach can and do. With everything that hit the fan at the end of the last school year, it was amazing to see how quickly teachers just took it up and ran with it. The best analogy I heard was that they totally and completely Apollo 13'd that. They took everything that was thrown at them, they fixed it, they put it together with duct tape, and they ran with it. Right now, I have been in contact with teachers across the country, and they are all on totally different timetables. They're on totally different schedules. And they were told, I was speaking to someone out in Tucson last night, and he said he was told, you are going to, you know, here, go ahead and get your curriculum going. This is what we're going to do. We're going to be virtual for the first 3 months. Everything's going to be fine. We've got this figured out. And so he started uploading content to where they were going to be working from. Found out yesterday, and school starts Monday, found out yesterday That's not the platform they're using. They're using a different platform. So he has to move all of this to over here. And he's going to lose so much sleep and have so many headaches. And if technology gets a hiccup, where are they at? But anyone who steps up to teach, anyone who takes time to help another person, it could be as simple as working with Indie Reads. It could be as simple as working with any library that has a Learn to Read program or English as a Second Language program. You don't have to be doing this full time. You can help by helping teach. You can help teach sustainable living skills by passing on the gardening skills you learned as a kid from your grandmother. You can show someone how to can. You can show someone how to sew. All of these basic survival skills are so important right now. So what else can you do? The next few slides, I actually lifted the information directly from Amnesty International. This is what to do and what not to do when you are going downtown for a protest. You want to plan ahead for essential needs, care, and supplies. Know what to expect. Know how to get assistance and plan how to reconnect with your buddies if separated. Have a plan and stick to it. You want to be calm and focused because things are going to get crazy. Things are, there's going to be chaos. There's going to be somebody that just decides they're going to start busting out windows in a building. You need to know what the warning signs are, and you need to keep yourself safe. Watch for the signs of physical and mental problems in yourself and others. If you feel yourself having something triggered in you, you need to take yourself temporarily out of the situation and calm down. If you are not calm and you don't keep yourself calm, you're not going to be able to help others. Document. You want to film or write it down, the police actions, brutality, or injuries. There are so many people posting so many Facebook Live videos of actual, this is what's happening real time. That's a thing. Do it. Absolutely do it. Things not to do. Don't put on Vaseline, mineral oil, or oil-based sunscreen or moisturizers on your skin. If this winds up turning into a situation where they use tear gas or any other chemicals, those are going to get trapped on your skin. It's going to cause more damage to you than it's worth. Don't wear contact lenses. Same reason. It can trap the chemicals underneath of them and can cause serious injury to your eyes and blindness. Don't wear things that can be easily grabbed, like jewelry, hair ties, loose hair, things like that. You want to have a hat on. You want to, or keep your hair in a tight ponytail or a bun. You don't want to have a hoodie on that they can grab the back of the hoodie and choke you. You don't want to have long necklaces, things like that. It's just, this is really practical stuff. Don't go alone. The buddy system. You've got to have a buddy system. You do not want to go into a situation like this on your own. If you are not actually physically traveling with someone to the protest, have that part of your plan, meet someone there. Have a backup person. And don't forget to eat and drink lots of water. That's really important because if you wind up suffering from dehydration or blood sugar issues, you're not going to help anybody there either. What to bring? Water in a plastic bottle with a squirt top, not only to drink, but in case you have to rinse your eyes out. Energy snacks, high protein sort of things are perfect. Trail mix. Identification and emergency contact information. Please do that. You don't need to have every single credit card you've ever owned in your entire life and your library card, although library cards are important. But you do have to have your ID on you, and you really should have somewhere noted in there who to contact in an emergency. If for some reason you get knocked unconscious, you need to know somebody's going to find you. Have enough money for payphone, food, and transportation. Do not keep that in your wallet. Keep that in a separate pocket. You want to keep that in your front pocket because it's less likely to be pulled out of your pocket. Watch, paper, pen for accurate documentation of events. Cell phones take over pretty much for that nowadays. Important things to remember though are inhaler, EpiPen, insulin. If you have any sort of health conditions that may require immediate attention, bring it. The last few were kind of interesting ones to me. It was like menstrual pads, things like that. It's like, you know, basic necessities. If you wind up in a situation where you are stuck in a cell or you are stuck in the protest, it winds up being a standoff for a few days. You need to be prepared for things like that. Basic first aid kit. For heaven's sakes, bring Band-Aids. There's going to be cuts and scratches. It's going to happen. Neosporin, big idea. Wet wipes and tissues, always a good idea to have those anyhow. Especially nowadays, it's just, you want to be able to keep yourself as clean and healthy as possible in this situation. What to wear? You want to wear shadow-resistant swimming goggles and a face mask. Face mask is not going to be an issue nowadays. I think most everybody's sporting those out in public. The goggles are a big deal, especially if you wear glasses on a regular basis. You want to be able to protect your eyesight, and you want to be able to protect your glasses. Comfortable protective shoes that you can run in. Clothing covering all your skin to protect you from the sun and pepper spray exposure. It doesn't mean you have to have on your winter parka, it just means you have to have your arms covered. It's always a good idea because the less skin that's exposed, the less it can get damaged. Shadow resistant eye protection kind of goes back up to the goggles idea. Bandana to cover your nose and mouth, soaked in water, lemon juice, or vinegar. If you keep that in a Ziploc bag in your little fanny pack or tote bag or whatever you got with you, then that's quite helpful because then you've got it ready. You can just pull it out and use it. Fresh clothes in a plastic bag in case yours get contaminated by chemical weapons, or in case you wind up stuck there in a situation for several days. A hat to protect you from the sun and chemical weapons, and also if you have long hair, you want to keep that tucked in there. Tear gas, and this kind of made me cry because it's been happening way too much lately. Basic, things you need to keep in mind, if you are in a situation where they do use tear gas, you want to blow your nose, rinse your mouth, cough and spit. Try not to swallow. It's going to cause more damage in your throat, and it's just not worth it. You want to remove your contacts, or if you are wearing contacts and that's all you've got, you want to take them out as soon as possible. That would be another thing to have in your bag of holding, is you want to have your contact solution in there. Do not rub it in. Use an eye flush. That's what the water and the squirt bottle's for. Avoid the use of oils and lotions because they can trap the chemicals. A lot of this is reviewed from the other things that we just talked about. Gas masks provide the best facial protection. But if you don't have a gas mask, I don't have one of those sitting in my closet. I probably should, but I don't. You want to use common sense. You want to use as much protection as you can. So if you've got a mask over your face and nose, it's a good idea. Stay calm. That is the most important thing. If you panic, it is going to increase everything. It's going to increase the irritation because your skin is going to open, the pores are going to open up, and it's going to absorb the chemicals twice as fast. And it's also, if you're breathing very heavily and erratic, it's actually going to cause the chemicals to go into your body through your nasal passages even faster too. Know your rights. This is really important. Everybody stands up and says, I've got the right to do this and I've got the right to do that. You need to know what they really are. You really should check into local laws depending on where you're at. I did not get a chance to pull the Indiana or Indianapolis laws to see specifically what they are, but these are the basic rights across the United States. So if you wind up going to Montana or Oklahoma or wherever for a protest, you're all set. Freedom of expression and assembly. Everyone has the right to carry their opinion to the streets. You do have the right to stand up for what you believe in. Protect the right of freedom of assembly. Law enforcement must facilitate and not restrict a peaceful public assembly. The minute it goes to violent, they have to step in. So try to keep things calm, cool, and collected. Freedom from excessive use of force. That's where we've had some little bit of conflict going on here lately because everybody's interpretation of that is very different. And that's why documenting with video, etc., is so important. Freedom from arbitrary arrest and detention. If you're arrested and have a right to be, you have a right to be told why. You also have a right to promptly after your arrest to get in touch with a lawyer. If you don't have a lawyer, you should probably ask your friends if they know a good lawyer and have that on your list of people to contact as part of your initial plan before going out. Right to complain. If your rights have been violated, you have a right to file a complaint and to be provided information on how to do so. You have the right to speak your mind. It's very, very simple. So now I want to open it up and say, how do you change the world?
Awesome. You ready for us to unmute our glorious stuff?
Absolutely. And I saw there the little chat thing kept blinking. So it's like,
yes!
Okay.
You're totally good. Jill did have one really good question.